Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark. I hope you all are having a wonderful day or evening. Let's get into today's stories. My 31 male ex-girlfriend, 29 female found me and wanted to hang out, but I just ignored her after she broke my heart. Backstory. In 2015, I met this woman at college. Let's call her Casey. We had so many things in common and we instantly got close. She asked me out and it was a wonderful relationship, or so I thought. We had dreams together, sent X-rated pictures once in a while, and we did a lot of stuff together, not sex yet. In 2019 at Christmas, I was going to propose to her after I gave her parents and siblings gifts. I even gave her mom, who hates me, a gift. Casey worked at the hospital, so she would get out of work later, or so I thought. It was 5 p.m. She didn't come to her parents' place, but I came and decided to give everyone gifts. When I give her younger sister, 20 female, let's call her Sherry, a laptop. She cried and hugged me because she always wanted one for school. I got Casey's father a new BBQ grill. Moments later, Sherry told me she couldn't contain it anymore and cried harder. I asked, "What's the matter?" She immediately took me to her room and her father came along as well. Sherry kept saying she was sorry so many times I was confused as to why. She then showed me a pregnancy test and told me that it belonged to Casey. I completely lost it and wanted to know why and how long the affair lasted for. Sherry informed me that the affair happened at the beginning of 2019. While I was working a lot at my factory job, she went to see him. To make matters worse is that Casey's mom was the one who introduced the AP to Casey. Apparently in the month of November, Casey found out she was pregnant and she begged Sherry not to tell anyone after Sherry found the test. When she told me everything, my world came crashing down and I decided to leave. But before I left, I thanked Sherry and her father. Let's call him Max. Max apologized and said that if I left, he would completely understand. We shook hands and I said, "Thank you." I just looked at Casey's mom and I then left my ex's house and just drove away and didn't look back. Max and Sherry got furious with Casey's mom. Let's call her Jane. Around 7 p.m. on Christmas, I informed my family about what happened and they all comforted me. At 11 p.m. my phone began blowing up with phone calls and text messages from my ex saying she could explain. I didn't answer. I changed my number, deleted my social media and changed my email as much as I wanted closure. I didn't want to see her face. Fast forward to the middle of 2020. One of my friends informed me that the AP who got Casey pregnant ran away after he found out he was the father, Karma, and they're looking for him. I simply said, "Who cares?" Fast forward to last month. I saw a number I'd never seen before. I answered and it was my ex. My ex begged me to talk to her and possibly give her a chance at my favorite restaurant. I responded, "Why should I after you did what you did?" She rambled on and I just ignored her because I didn't want to go through the same pain that she had put me through. Casey began gaslighting me and her friends and her mom called me a coward for not seeing her again. I told Jane, "You have the audacity to say that after what you've done." She rambled on. I just hung up and blocked Jane and my ex's number. I informed her friends what happened and they left me alone. Update. It's been nearly 3 months since I posted my story and apparently she found me on Mother's Day of all days, which was last week, Sunday. My mom wanted to go to Red Lobster since she loves seafood. One of my sisters, really half-sister, but she is, my sister, came along as well. Let's call her Raven. We were about to leave when all of a sudden I ran into my ex's sister, Sherry, and the Wicked Witch of the West, Jane, in Red Lobster. Sherry was in total shock at seeing me and I hoped Casey wasn't there with her. Thankfully, she wasn't. Jane looked at me with disgust and Raven in disbelief. Jane was in total shock at seeing Raven for some reason. I wasn't sure why at the time. I was about to explode until I looked at my mom and Raven because they both wanted to pound Jane into the ground for what she did to me. So I had to calm both of them down. Sherry then begged me to talk to her after a heated argument involving my mom, Jane and my sister. Raven then suggested that if I wanted to talk to Sherry, we had to talk alone. They wouldn't be involved and neither would the snake Jane. We talked for a bit and she asked me how had I been and told me how she missed me and wished that I hadn't left. She told me that my ex was miserable when I left and I responded that it was not my problem. I then asked, how was school treating her? Sherry cried and said that Casey broke the laptop. I gave her for Christmas a week after I left and toasted her. I asked before I go, why does your mom hate me? I'm curious. Sherry then said it was because she saw me with another woman and it was that same woman that they both saw just now. Little did Jane know it was my sister. I told Sherry that Casey's actions were wasted and the warranty was still available until November 2022. Sherry literally danced for joy and she said she would immediately get the laptop after dinner. We said goodbye, hugged and left. The next day, I waited at Brand's Mart. Work was slow. I saw Sherry and to my surprise, Max came along. No lie. I had a smile on my face. We talked. Max loves the grill. I gave him and he still apologized, but I told him there was nothing he could do. After the laptop was resolved, we chatted for nearly an hour. They insisted on talking for a while. Not sure why I told them it was good seeing them, but Max insisted on taking me to a restaurant I had never been to. He paid for everything as a thank you for giving Sherry another laptop, a better one. Sherry responded, I'm sorry about this. I hope you forgive me. Please don't be upset. Lo and behold, my ex came and she looked in worse shape than I imagined. She looked worse than a surgery gone wrong. She tried to hug me. I just stuck my hand out and asked, what the hell do you want? Casey apologized and begged me to take her back, saying it was a mistake. A cheater's excuse. I responded, you cheated on me for nearly a year when I worked my ass off for us and this is how you repay me. She realized that mistake and said that it was Jane's fault and I said you went along with it. She could have said I'm not happy with you anymore, but she didn't. It was not my problem anymore. I moved on and you did too for nearly a year. And the fact you gaslighted me and tried to put the baby on me when we never had sex, the hell, and now the AP left you and he's on child support. Casey told me that her son was 1 year old and needed a father. I told her good luck with that. She asked why I was being so mean. I said you're the reason for this. I wanted kids. I nearly got a house for us, family stuff, and you threw all that away. Casey said I threw it away because Sherry told me, Jane saw you with another woman, and then she described what she looked like. I laughed and called Sherry to let her know who she had seen. Sherry explained everything to my ex. Casey was crying really hard. She realized all this time I had been faithful and she wished she had never listened to Jane and said, I hate her for this. Casey begged me for another chance, saying we can fix everything and that she would do anything. Just take me back. I simply just told Casey, Max and Sherry wishing all the best and walked out. I told my family why I was out a bit long and they immediately were proud of me for not taking her back. My dad laughed and said, Jane wanted you gone, son, and found a reason. A stupid one at that. You'll do better on the next woman. So yeah, thank you guys for everything. I didn't think I would run into her again, even though I got closure. It wasn't worth it to see the two women who broke me. Hey, glad to hear you're doing better. Sounds like your ex wasn't a virgin before you met. Doesn't sound like it was a one-time thing and you were plan B. I'm glad the sister and dad did the right thing and saved you from a future full of headaches and the possibility of raising another man's child. I am sorry for the hurt and pain you've endured all this time. And hopefully most of the pain and betrayal has passed and you have begun to move past this. Maybe one day you can speak to the ex just to see what excuses she has. Maybe she is trying to go through a healing path and this is one step to clearing her conscience. Either way, best wishes. Now let's get into today's second story. I am writing this as a bit of a journaling exercise and maybe for some support from people who have been through the same. Thanks for being so welcoming. We have been together since 2015 and early on I planned for this to be a lifelong relationship. It was rocky along the way and this is part of the reason I never managed to propose. However, there is still a very mature ring fund which will go somewhere else. Now, I'm sure around 2019, I began to think that maybe our relationship was not going to be like how I had imagined it. We fought a lot, nothing physical, of course, just disagreements and mutual pouting and discontent. Our sex life dropped off significantly after 2016 for medical reasons and it never really seemed to recover. In June of last year, we had an M where she said in as many words that I did not satisfy her, I had never satisfied her and the thought of me in bed made her sick. It was very upsetting at the time. And in hindsight, I should have called our relationship then. But we decided initially that we would try to work our way through our problems. And we also ended up having a 4-month-long lockdown shortly afterward. So I didn't want her onto the street or anything around September. I discovered she had been sexting some guy overseas. A total breach of trust. But I decided I would bracket it because there was nothing physical. And even though we never discussed it openly, I thought she knew that I knew I never broached this directly. But we eventually decided we would go to couples therapy. I discovered yesterday that she slept with another man in November last year while she was out of town on a short holiday, some random she met online and I presume she had been chatting with for a few weeks. At least I didn't care to ask for the exact date. But it was either shortly before or shortly after our first couples therapy session. When she went to work today, I left a note on the table saying goodbye, packed a bag and went to my parents' place for a few days this evening. After she came home, we had an hour-long SMS-only discussion. I don't want to talk about it aloud. I can't put my words together in time to speak them where she took responsibility for everything, promised to change and asked if I would come back. I appreciated her honesty. I believe everything she has said. This was completely unlike her, something she acknowledged, and she is afflicted by both mental illness and gruesome sexual trauma as a child and young adult. But I said that this was a hard barrier for me. And I would not consider coming back even if we continue to seek couples therapy for this issue. I said I would consider going back to our therapist to work through the breakup process as we had discussed this previously in one of our sessions and I can see how it could be helpful. It is also something our therapist has worked on, even if we could make our way past this. And she found a way to fix herself. It would always be a part of our past and something I will never be able to reconcile myself with while we were in a relationship. I don't fully believe that there has only been one other man. I asked how many other people she has had sex with during our relationship. And she said one, but I think this might have been a very strict definition of sex and that she has been emotionally and physically cheating with several other men over at least the past 6 months. And even up until now, she said that this was a part of her life that felt like it was without consequence. And although that is obviously wrong, I can understand what she was saying. Anyway, the number doesn't matter. One is one too many. I feel very dirty for how I found this all out, especially since I was going by a gut feeling, but I feel partially vindicated by my gut being right. I don't know if I can shake this feeling of shame for having been able to discover this, even though it is for the best that I know and that we separate. I will likely be moving my appointment with my own therapist forward a few weeks to help with where I go from here. I don't quite know how she moved on from this, but I am trying my best to focus on myself. I don't know what I will do with myself yet because so much of who I am, what I do and why I'm like, revolved around what we were. I picked up my guitar for the first time in a few months and couldn't do much with it. I don't play as much now because I felt embarrassed playing around her, not her fault. She was always very encouraging of all my creative pursuits. I have a few friends, but I am both a very reserved person and also someone who gets lonely easily. I might need to house share because I don't know if living alone is a good idea for me right now. I did say that I hope we can be friends one day, and I really do, besides the infidelity and our other problems. She's great and we did gel in a very cool way. But in my heart of hearts, it doesn't seem likely, at the very least, as soon as either one of us starts seeing someone else, unless they're super chill. I don't think it's going to work. I've decided that I'm not going to be super candid with other people about the circumstances of our breakup. There's no need to be, but it's something that I would mention to a future partner. And I can imagine for them that it would be a bit weird for your partner to be friends with their ex who is also a cheater. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. She will likely move to another city, and we won't have much opportunity to see each other again. Anyway, that's my story. There were times this morning, I might try to just let it slide and forget about it. But I'm glad the part of me which stood fast won over, because there was really no future knowing this. It would always eat at me. I don't know what the future holds, and I am truly scared because I've had struggles with alcohol and smoking in the past, which my partner really helped me to temper. I stopped smoking as a condition of getting together, which I'm grateful for, maybe with a sneaky cigarette every now and then at the end. I don't have that anymore. I have made a short list of things for me to try to do with myself for the next 4 weeks, and have committed to not buying any spirits at all for now, and only smoking if I've gone out and someone offers. I don't go out often. So this is generally sustainable for me. If there is anything any of you have done to get past the first few weeks and months of your breakup due to infidelity, I would certainly appreciate any advice if you have made it this far. Thanks a lot for reading. Hope you are getting along your journey right as well. If you are, then feel free to drop into the comments and let me know that it gets better, because I need it. It's sad when you have perspectives with your partner and you realize that it was only you who thought about a future together. In any case, according to your history, it feels that she was never an honest girlfriend to you. I think there are many red flags after the time together. For example, constant arguments and lack of sex. I think your decision is correct. She spent weeks preparing the last one she did, where he went directly to Kim. The best thing you can do right now is to go get your things when she's not around and cut off all kinds of relationships. Really? Why keep talking to